and welcome to the Genuine Learning Blog. My name is Melissa Galasso, and today we're going to talk about a new FASB exposure draft that was recently issued regarding the credit loss standard. So as you know, this is part of the financial instruments group. There were three standards that came out in financial instruments. The first was ASU 2016-01, which was related to recognition and measurement. Then we had ASU 2016-13, which was the credit loss or the impairment model or CECL model. And that's what we're going to address today. And the third one was ASU 2017-12, which addressed the hedging model. Well, this one is going to be some codification improvements. So not intended to have a very large impact here. I'm going to address some questions that popped up. It actually will have a pretty big impact on private companies because it's going to impact the effective date. But it was not meant to be a huge change to the actual CECL model itself. So as people were going through and implementing, questions popped up and FASB has answered them. So a little bit about this. This came out at the end of August. It's a middle end of August, and the comments are due September 19th. So again, this is a pretty quick turnaround, but it's a very, very short proposal. So should not have a huge impact. As I said, just some good actually relief as it's included in here. So this is proposal 2018-270. If you like it, I'm sure FASB would love to hear about it. If you have any suggestions for improvements, I'm sure they would love to hear that as well. So as a reminder, as I said, 2016-13, it was issued in 2016, and it introduces the expected credit loss or CECL model. And this is going to replace the probable incurred loss model. This was really, the incurred loss model was blamed very frequently for the financial crisis that we had towards the end of the 2009-2010 era. And so they really wanted to switch when we recognize impairment, now known as credit loss, on certain items. And so they introduced a new standard as a result of it. Well, the first question that popped up was that when they wrote the effective date, they had three different effective dates basically out there. They had an effective date for public business entities that were specifically SEC filers. Right. Remember, there are 5 reasons why you could be a public business entity. Only one is being an SEC filer. So they called attention to SEC filers. And then they had an effective date for public business entities that were not SEC filers, and then they had for all other entities. However, the question that came up was it was basically the same effective date for non-public business entities and public business entities that were not SEC filers. And so people said, did you really mean that? So that was the question that sort of came in, and they talked about the cumulative effect, the impact that that would have on these non-public entities. And so FASB said, you know what? We're going to give it to you. And so in this scenario, now non-public business entities would adopt ASU 2016-13 1 year later. So for fiscal years beginning after December 15, 2021, which would be calendar 2022, which would follow the SEC filers and the other public business entities. So giving them a little bit more time to make that adoption. In addition, there was a question about leases, and this is a really good question that I didn't even recognize when I first read the standard. But when we think about the leases standard, Topic 842 has 3 types of leases for lessors, right? There's two types of leases for lessees, right? We have our operating leases, and then we have our finance leases, which are old capital leases. But on the lessor side, we actually have 3 types of leases. We kept our direct financing, our sales type, and our operating leases in the lessor category. And if you read the section for leases, and you look at the scope of the CECL model, it explicitly includes the net investment in lease, which is the term that we use for the receivable plus some unguaranteed residuals from both sales type and direct financing. So 2 out of the 3 were directly addressed. However, it did not address receivables arising from the operating lease, right? So you still could have a receivable, obviously, for the operating lease. It's just done a little bit different as opposed to being very balance sheet driven. And so it was not clear in that scenario whether it was included or excluded, because people said, well, it's kind of like some of the other ones that are going to be included at amortized cost. So should we include this too, even though it didn't explicitly state? And FASB said, actually, no. It clarifies that the receivables arising from operating leases are not within Topic 326. Instead, they're going to be following the Topic 842 specific, right, the lease standard, paragraphs 12 and 13 in Section 25, and they're going to have special impairment testing that's going to follow the lease standard Topic 842 and not Topic 326, which is the credit loss model. So again, not a huge change, but great clarifications and an extra year if you're a private company to adopt. So not a bad deal here. The proposed effective date would be the same as the effective dates and transition requirements for ASU 2016-13. So that one is short and sweet. We like it when they're like that. Makes it easier for us to deliver content in a timely fashion. So thank you so much for joining me on the Genuine Learning blog, and I hope to see you on a future blog. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.